Jerks online who want to debate.
Luz, help me help.
Human souls trapped in cat bodies.
I don't want to be this.
Okay, this episode was worth all the hype from the crew and fans alike, while giving us a major setup for the end of the season, which we only have 3 episodes left, not including this one. The Owl House Season 1, Episode 16, Enchanting Grom Fright, was not only one of the best of the series thus far. Granted, we're still in Season 1, but something many are going to rave about is that it fully established the main ship for the series, one that I was telling y'all to look out for months ago after Adventure in the Elements aired early in Russia. Now, I do want to do a bigger catch-up video after this, rounding up any interesting lore details, theories, and my overall thoughts on the episodes I didn't cover, but considering that's a good chunk of the season, that's going to be a long video, so please bear with me. Still, let's go through everything that this episode did to make it as good as it was. Of course, spoiler warning. If you have yet to check out this episode and you don't want to be spoiled, click off now. With all that said, let's dive in. An interesting tidbit of information is that creator Dana Terrace never got to go to prom when she was in school, so she wanted to make up for it with this episode, which was a big labor of love from the crew. And fun fact, this episode was written by Molly Ostertag, who isn't just a writer on The Owl House, but wife to She-Ra creator Noelle Stevenson. So a lot of people already knew where this episode was going when she was hyping it up. Although we haven't gotten too many in-depth looks of Luz inside of classes that specify on a particular trap, which I hope we do get eventually, the show still manages to give us insight into her progress with a beautiful plant glyph. The episode also establishes that Ida is still going to Earth on trips, which we haven't seen for a while. Considering she went solo, without King and obviously without Luz, and the fact she didn't just send Hootie alongside with her, I can't help but to speculate. Is Ida only making these trips for junk to sell, or is there something else going on? Also, Luz's phone actually gets a Wi-Fi or phone signal through the door. She specifies Wi-Fi, which makes me wonder if the door's location is the house Luz entered the demon realm through, as that was near her house, so it would make sense why she would say the Wi-Fi in particular connected. But if Ida can't just open up a portal anywhere on Earth, then that particular location must have some significance. This episode really gave us a lot to think about, and the harder you think about it, alongside how close we are to the end of this season, it makes me wonder if they're bracing us, making sure the viewer is mentally prepared for everything to come full circle from the beginning of the season as it nears its end. Luz's mom Camilla also reaches out, establishing that they have continued to communicate over text. Obviously makes sense that's Luz's mom, she's just not gonna never check up on her daughter, but it's still an important detail to include for obvious reasons. Luz hates that she has to lie and keep it a secret, which means obviously it won't be a secret forever. I bet she will have her cover blown by the end of the season, making my predictions now. Meanwhile at Hexside, the Abomination balloons were so cool to see. It's nice to see how practical magic from every track can be, even beyond its surface level intended purpose. We also witnessed a Gromposal, which I found to be really amusing, as someone whose friends describe as, cheesy, corny, and cliche. Obviously, I love the hell out of seeing promposals and these big gestures, and I feel like they're only more common today, so props to the crew for the inclusion. It's not something you see too often in dance episodes anymore. A character asking their crush out? Yeah, that's included, but the big gestures were kinda overlooked in media, but it's something they're including more often. They kinda did so in Craig the Creek, although that was used to tell a very important lesson. So, what the hell is Grom? Well, it's like prom, but it's meant for the chosen in advance Grom King or Queen to defeat Grometheus, the Fearbringer, a monster who resides underneath the school. That's not sketchy at all, trying to break out every year. The chosen Grom monarch trying to prevent it from escaping into the town. As this is a yearly tradition, I wonder if this was a show trying to establish that this may not be our only Grom episode. Does it take place once a season? Or will the series simply end with another Grom? At least the concept being featured in the final season as a full circle how far we've come moment. I've said it before, but I love fancy attire we have to fight something episodes. Facing Grom means facing your worst fears, as Grom has the ability to take form of such, which is a great venue to get some character exploration and development. Another detail I want to point out is that Amity still kind of acts like a jerk to people she doesn't know, as before she realizes she bumps into Luz, she immediately jumps to an insult. Ida observes how often she gets Luz out of trouble, which I feel like was kind of making it known that this decision in writing is intentional, and I assume there will be a parallel to this by the season's end, with Luz having to rescue Ida. something she was kind of prepared for through the first episode. I really enjoyed the moment where Amity confided into Luz, having the scene lit by Luz's magic, and the fact Luz took the mantle of Grom Queen from Amity in order to ensure Amity does not have to face her deepest fear in front of the entire school, a fear that I found to be very compelling and that I would love to share my thoughts on. Meanwhile, Luz's biggest fear is disappointing Ida and being sent back home, which ties into the fear of her mom finding out of where she's really been. This was a great episode for reaffirming Luz's motivations. We also have a little bit of Edric and Amira in this episode, Edric's fear being loneliness, which sounded genuine, while Amira claims it's being stuck with her brother, so I assume that was just a little sibling jab, and not Amira fessing up, which means it could be something that we explore for character down the line next season. I love the scenery for Grom. In general, this series has knocked out the park the idea of taking these normal Earth concepts and transforming them into a demon aesthetic. We see that Willow is becoming proficient at plant magic, giving a group of characters corsages effortlessly, and is met with an ovation, which reads as, yeah, this is impressive for her age and grade. And that checks out with what we've seen so far with Willow. I love how Grom himself looked and moved, how Luz combated his illusions and tricks with a weapon boosted with Glyph. The more she utilizes her magic, the more this series continues to impress me. Seriously, it's just such a cool way to have unorthodox magic. She's not just casting spells with her finger or a wand. Because there's an extra step involved, it opens up even more ways for magic to be used. Luz casting spells in a way that witches on the Boiling Isles can't do. I wish we had more of this throughout the season, but considering when Luz actually starts at Hexside, it's understandable why we didn't. We also get a look into Amity's biggest fear, being rejected by Luz. Not accepted, as Grom rips the invite into two. But the implication runs deeper. What happens after rejection? Potentially being outed? Not being accepted by everyone? Will Disney let that happen? Like, that's kind of nuts. And from experiences I know that friends of mine have endured, it'd be a very real conflict to explore. I assume it ultimately comes back to her authoritative and sinister parents, who we also need to talk about. They're shaping out to be the real villain of the story for more reasons than one. But really, I appreciate how much this show is already established to give Lumity some actual reasons why their love is forbidden without it being contrived. Like, seriously, I think it's the most realistic forbidden romance from Disney when you lay out on the table everything that is kind of pitted against them already, which will make it that much more satisfying when it inevitably happens. I mean, look, Amity's closeted, and although we know Luz has shown attraction towards men and women, Amity doesn't really know that, and you really can't blame anyone for not wanting to make assumptions. Beyond that, her authoritative parents definitely want to prove her being with a human, considering her parents wouldn't even let her be friends with Willow after deciding Willow was too weak. If Luz can't perform what they consider to be normal magic, they're not gonna want her around. They're just going to see her as inferior. Hell, if they got away with it, they could even be one of those, I don't have a problem with gay people, I just don't want my child to be gay kind of parents. Not to mention, Luz is technically a foreign exchange student as she's from Earth. She eventually has to return home, as this episode reminded us. The show is saying a lot without spelling it all out. The action-packed dance sequence was spectacular, and it was amazing to see Luz and Amity work their magic in more ways than one. Not only can you tell that these babies have some serious chemistry, but having Amity create an abomination and Luz enhancing it with a glyph as it storms into Grom, again, how they're utilizing Luz's glyphs in combat is spectacular, amazing, some other synonym for really, really cool. And the end of this episode was sweet until we got a chilling revelation. Someone has been sending letters to Camilla under the guise of Luz. But who is it? Ida? King? Emperor Bellows? Or someone we haven't met yet, potentially related to Luz? Whoever it is, they're clearly kind of inept to the concept of family relationships, as the letter claims that Luz and Camilla can do lots of fun mother-daughter activities forever and ever. And whoever wrote it initially misspelled Luz's name? Way to make her look dumb to her own mother, anonymous forging jerk. Still, the story heats up. Overall, as someone who's witnessed a lot of good friends endure unnecessary hate, stress, and pressure from their own sexual orientation, it makes me happy to see Luz and Amity, and the work the team of the Owl House is doing, putting their best foot forward to make the chemistry and conflict between them seem real. It feels like such an honest portrayal of relationships. And personally, besides from what my friends have endured, it's a perspective I really appreciate as someone who doesn't necessarily endure these struggles directly. The closest thing I can say is if Amity's parents aren't really down with Luz because she's a human, I could draw allegories to my own past relationships where the color of my skin brought some very unideal pain to the relationship due to parental forces. But that's enough Kevin lore for the day. Last but not least, the Ground Memories album was real cute. I need a sequel episode to this right now. Whose fears are next? Grom is great for development. But as always, these are just my thoughts, and I want to hear yours. What do you think? How did you feel about this episode? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, or tweet your thoughts at Roundtable Vids. And for more of my own thoughts, you can find me at OstricVox. We're also on Instagram. Help Roundtable grow by either becoming a member of this channel or supporting us over at Patreon. Link in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please throw it a like and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. OstricVox signing out.